We are starting tonight with a lady that if you don't know her, you don't know nobody. Dr. Terri-Karelle Reid, host, TV presenter, and podcaster. She is a connector of people and facts, having graced the stage at numerous events across the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, and the USA. Dr. Terri-Karelle Reid has built a brand that is synonymous with the word excellence in the world of virtual event and TV hosting, speaking, content creation, brand storytelling, and online brand strategy. Her experience has taught her to respect the process, pay attention to details, understand the needs of her clients, foster great client relationships, and to always, and I can testify, to always deliver excellence in service.
Absolutely.
Terri!
What a greeting! Good night, Rochelle. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. Good night.
Thank you so much for joining us. I see our viewers coming on. Dr. Colette Smith, I see you. She says, this is our dedicated business development time. See, so our viewers are on for business development. And Terri, you know, we have to start the conversation with you, with kind of just bringing viewers up to speed with your journey, because you are actually a trained veterinarian.
Absolutely. And it's always one of those brand building points, always one of those conversation points, because my dream was always to be a veterinarian. That was my dream from I was 4, and I made sure that I did everything that I needed to do, volunteered at JSPCA, got my scholarship, went to Cuba, stayed there for 7 years, learned everything in Spanish, came home, and then was told that, you know, the vet board did not accredit students who studied veterinary medicine in Cuba. Ta-da! Oh, you like the bubbles? And so my mom took it really hard. She broke down because I think she was truly worried about what my future, what my career was going to be, because I didn't have fallback subjects. I didn't do business or accounts. And for me, it was more of a, okay, God, I don't think you carried me this far to just drop me like a piece of breadfruit. So let me see what other opportunities are out there, even though I had absolutely no clue where those opportunities would lie.
And, you know, it's funny the way you put it, because, you know, we face those moments where we're like, we couldn't mean to drop me like one breadfruit. You can't carry me this far to leave me. And, you know, many of our viewers are micro, small, and medium enterprises that have felt the vagaries of COVID, that have prepared their businesses to a particular point, and then COVID hit. And some have been able to pivot, and some persons are still just trying to get their feet settled into the next steps. So when this, we don't really accredit the Cuban veterinarians, what do you do after this?
I think what you do is you become more open. A lot of us, and I've said it on many different platforms, that, you know, COVID-19 was horrible. It's a pandemic and people have died. But, you know, it's not the first crisis that we experience in our lives. We experience crises from the death of loved ones to getting rejected, to can't get jobs, you're unemployed, you're laid off. We have been rejected and disappointed on so many different levels. And somehow we don't realize that we bounce back. Yeah. We don't realize that we actually pass it, that it was a storm that we got through. And so for me, that disappointment and that rejection, it stung. It felt terrible. There's an idea of uncertainty. Like, where do I go now? I am not qualified to do anything else, because we also define ourselves based on the one goal that we had in mind. But what I found is that
the doctor.
And there's this failure because you are attached to the goal that is no longer in your sight. Mm-hmm. But one thing I realized is that rejection has a way of redirecting you. Mm-hmm. Rejection on a very serious and basic level has a way of saying, I know you thought that was where you should be, but I absolutely think that you have more in you. And so for me, what started to happen when people came to me and said, we think you should try media. I was like, I don't know nothing about media. I don't know anything about media. I didn't go to Carimac only to realize that I had skills that I did not know or identify as skills that people pay for, that the world needs, and that there's a place for it. And so what I was discerning. I listened to what people suggested, and I was open to just trying. experimenting. If you fail, you'd have nothing to lose because you never was going to go there anyway. So try, fail, and if you're going to fail, fail fast.
Yes. So you get into media, and as Terri says, so true, Terry, once we focus on what we're passionate about, the right career will find you.
Yeah, and to add to that, sometimes you don't even know what you're passionate about. Sometimes you think you know what you're passionate about, but sometimes you stumble into new areas and new spaces where you develop a passion and you realize, how come I never know this from before? But we have to allow ourselves to receive opportunities when they come.
Okay. So even when you made this transition into media, from media, you actually left media.
Well, media for me was just a hustle. You know, it's just, you get a bus and you say, all right, you get a bus to try a little thing and you just go and try a little thing. But for me, it is if you get your toe through the door, no matter what it is, even if it's not the job you wanted or the career you were going for, I think you must put your 150% because there's a reason why you are in that place at that time. So what can you learn? What can you take with you? How can you grow? How can you develop? And how can you take it into the very next journey? So while media was a hustle for me, what I realized was because I did a good job, opportunities started to come to me. Can you host this event? Sure, I guess. Only to realize that opened more doors. And so again, whatever opportunity you get, you must just try to do the best that you can.
Yeah. And then after leaving media, you become now one of our premier hostesses. And I mean, when Terry is hosting an event, I recall going to an event that it was a Spanish company that was being launched. And when you got off into the Spanish,
yes, ma'am.
the people there,
yes, ma'am.
Your level of preparation, you were at the top of your game. COVID hits.
Events that I was booked for from like last year, which would have been 2019, half of my calendar is already booked from January to May. I'm supposed to go to Germany, Dominican Republic, Paris for Christ's sake, Bahamas, Barbados, and I'm like, yo, my brand. It was a testament. 2020 was going to be my year of my brand really just busting out. You know what I mean? All the hard work and all of the positioning on social media, which we will talk about. What it meant is that people were paying attention and I was now booked. COVID lick, my event started to cancel because now nobody knows what's gonna happen. And I was like, all right, so what we are gonna do? All right, this not look good. But there are two lessons that I learned. Number one, and I love the biblical scripture where there was when the Pharaoh had the dream, and Joseph come and tell him, listen, there are going to be 7 years of bounty, 7 years of plentiful. When you get that plenty and when you get that harvest, store it because you will have 7 years of drought, 7 years where nothing, famine, people are going dead. So you have to prepare. And so one of the things that helped me, and I hope it will help a lot of our entrepreneurs out there, is that even when there is bounty and things are plentiful, you store because you never know when you might have to pull the lever. So even though I lost events, what happened is that I had my savings and I had my cushion, my emergency money put down, which is important. But secondly, what I learned was although the environment changed and the platforms changed, people still needed to deliver goods and services. They still needed to engage their audiences. So if you are putting in the work from years ago, steadily, consistently, with credibility, with good work ethics and good professionalism, when people start to move in uncertain times, they draw for people who they trust. Yes. So what I realized is when everyone starts to go online, a lot of them said, Terry, we want you to deliver whatever that service is as a host. And I have not looked back since. 2020 actually ended up being my best year financially, which is mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Because Terri-Karelle is a brand and a business.
She is, all the time. And everything she posts, everything she says, everything she wears, it is an intention. There's an intention, there's an emotion, there is a reason for everything that I do. And that is a huge part of personal branding, in my opinion.
Yeah. I see Marcia Farms commenting. Hi, Marcia says, store when things are plenty and bountiful, lessons of life. QB Buzz TV says, I lost my job. Thank God I learned pretty early to save 6 months worth of pay. Daniela says, Terry puts her entire being into hosting every single event. Reese says, everyone knew from high school that you were going to be a big deal. Just in case you never know, everybody else did know. But Terry, how you have actually presented Terri-Karelle, it's clear that Terry is a business and she is a brand.
Correct.
And what you do is intentional.
Correct.
So the business would have been focused on hosting live events.
Correct.
You pivoted into online, but you pivoted to, you were able to do that better because you had already positioned and established a brand.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit that establishing the brand and while you're doing it too, because you know in the back of people's head they're like, but online business, online really not real, online real. I want to just
real. It's very real, Rush. And the thing is that I think that's why a lot of people are playing catch up, or why a lot of people had to play catch up, because a lot of the times we are reactive, and we are reactive as a people, as a country, as a region. We react when our back is against the wall. We don't believe in being proactive, looking ahead, trying to establish things from now, so that if things kind of get a little bit weary down the road, we're able to adjust our sails because we're reacting on the fly. And so for me, what it was is, a lot of us want there to be a whole heap of likes and a whole heap of followers and a whole heap of popularity and a whole heap of buzz. And sometimes all it is a steadiness. It is doing the job that you say you do, being who you are, not lying to the people, being authentic, knowing how to self-edit, not faking it till you make it, and being on a level that when people see you, they trust you. So that no matter what is changing around you, people always look to you as a point of reference. They look to you as an authority. You don't look like a hurry come up trying to do something overnight, but that you have put in the work, and now you have proven yourself over and over again. And this is just another space that you're going to dominate in.
Yeah, and you know, Terry, because just what you went through, you pretty much went through brand tenets that whether it is your personal brand or your business brand, it actually, it's the tenets that you apply to a brand.
Absolutely.
So when you are posting, you talked about in being intentional. For our business people that are watching, can you kind of outline what is the process? Because, you know, even a lot of business people have moved their advertising online and are still unsure of the platforms and if there's a method behind it. Can you share some of your tips?
There is a method. I think one of the biggest, well, there are a couple of mistakes that people tend to do. And that is one, they tend to follow trends. So because everybody on TikTok, you think, okay, I'm going to put my brand on TikTok. Or because Facebook happening or your friends are into Facebook, you say, all right, I'm going to shoot some messages over by Facebook. A lot of persons are trying to throw this big net or trying to catch this new trend without understanding data, understanding metrics, understanding their audience, being granular. Not just I want to talk to all the women in Jamaica. No, I want to talk to women in Jamaica between 35 and 40, in particular, who want to publish their book, publish their first book. How granular are we getting? Are we taking the time to understand the different platforms and how audiences behave on these platforms? When you look at one person can behave very differently across 5 platforms. And you wonder, this can't be the same person. And so I think brands need to step back and truly understand who they're speaking to so that they're not wasting money. So back to your question about my intention. My intention is I am in control of my brand. It is my responsibility to communicate very clearly and very effectively who I am, what I do, what are my values, who do I serve. Welcome. A lot of people take it for granted that we are psychics and we know what you do and who you serve. And so what needs to happen is on every profile you have, even if it is one, when people get on that profile in 5 seconds, in 10 seconds, when they see that profile pic, when they read your bio, when they look at your photos and your videos and your captions, is everything adding up? who you say you are and what you do and how you want people to perceive you, are those all harmonizing? Or you're saying something, doing something else, posting something that don't align with what you do, and you're talking to a completely different audience, but you expect to get results? Madness.
Yes.
You have to be intentional about what you want your audience to feel, what you want them to walk away thinking, what is the call to action. Without being salesy, they must walk away saying, I got her, I like her, I will do business with her, I will partner with her, I want to know her deeper. You're missing the opportunities when you're not acting with intention on your pages.
Yes. So, it's interesting because we have to get into the LinkedIn because it's a page that we, as business people, sometimes we don't really mess around with much. And I know you love LinkedIn. Now, as when small businesses, so for instance, and we're doing a series on cultural and the creative industry. So I am a fashion designer,
Yes.
and I have a brand page for my fashion design. I was very interested in how you put that. People will have different personalities on different pages. One of the things with your brand is that wherever you pick up Terry, it's the same Terry. And she will give jokes when it's necessary. She'll have serious conversation, but you're never wondering which Terry is present. Now, when you have a small business and do you have a different small business, your business personality different from your own personality? So you may be selling, tell me.
Right. No, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that your personal brand differs from your professional brand. We have alter egos. We know that Beyonce, for example, is Sasha Fierce, and we kind of understand the alter ego when it comes to certain industries. It's almost expected. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we somehow feel, okay, I'm going to be this business person, professional, ethical, conscientious, mindful, inclusive. This is the brand I'm going to push for because this is the brand that is going to do well. A good brand profile is good business. But then we've realized that people actually want to do business with people who they like. People want to partner and collaborate and support and put money in your pockets because they want to know who's behind the brand. They've got smart persons and your audience. They're very, very savvy. So then we go searching because we want to know who are these people behind this amazing brand that has diversity and all of these good things and fantastic culture, only to realize that the owner or the board members or the CEO or whoever is using slurs or is a ableist or is, using offensive language. Then you kind of go, whoa, this person and this brand, they're not harmonizing. Also, this is a fake. And that is where the issue is. What I believe is in the power of self-editing. So across all my platforms, you will get a very good idea of Terri-Karelle, her personality, what she does, what my interests are. Instagram is more personal. That's my platform, my playground. I am more, I'm funny. I use a lot of colloquial expressions. On LinkedIn, I have to position very differently. That's a captive audience, very professional, very global. I have to ensure that whatever I say, they actually understand and that I'm not misunderstood in that space. Does that mean I'm changing myself authentically? No. It means recognizing the room that you stepped into, recognizing the people who are there and adjusting based on who is in that room. And that is what I have done.
Okay. And I see Marcia says alignment of brand messages for consistency and to build trust. Terry dropping pearls of wisdom, Terry. Alicia, thanks for this question. Alicia says, how do you get to understand your audience when you're just starting out and therefore you only have a few followers? Not enough to get any statistics as yet. Great question, Alicia.
Great question.
I'm going to have an expert on. Send questions.
And it's funny you said that, you said send your questions. So a big issue when especially small businesses go in is that they go, nobody knows me. I don't have enough resources. I'm this one person. I only have 2 people and I only have 2 followers. Just kind of remember that quality is better than quantity. I will take 20 great community members who will support me follow me, recommend me, refer me to 2 million lurkers who will never convert in the space. So for me, we're not looking at the vanity metrics, but going back to her question is ask. We go into the space thinking that we know it all. We go into the space with our own preconceived notion of what kind of content we're going to create. And if we build this, create the content, the people are just going to come. No. The best type of entrepreneur is an entrepreneur who actively listens and asks questions. Hey guys, I'm new to this. You know, this is what my specialty is. This is how I want to serve. What are the things that really disturb you? What bothers you? What you tend to realize is that when you actively ask questions, you do polls, you leave a space that means that there is dialogue. Your community actually starts to feed you with information. They start to give you business ideas that you never even think about. There's some who will give you graphic suggestions. They will tell you, hey, we think you should partner with that person over there. But if you're going in thinking that you know it all and that you're just going to do it all with you and your ego, then you really are not creating a space for your audience to actually give you feedback. And even criticism is valuable feedback. If someone says you're not posting enough, don't take it personally. They're saying, we like your content. We need to see you more. Everything that you do is feedback, but you have to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to look like you don't know what you do. People will value you for valuing their opinion and their feedback.
Yeah. And Terry, when you establish yourself, and you spoke about, you know, let's not just look at the number of followers. You actually are looking at the engagement. Now, in your field, you are in now an online business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you choose who to partner with? I mean, when COVID hit and you're not sure where the revenue coming in from, do you just say, anybody will ask me to do anything?
No.
Open a box, flowers, spray on perfume.
Not happening. I think, you know, it's my humble background. I never come from no rich, privileged home. So I know I learned how to do without. I learned from my grandmother very early that your good name and your reputation and your integrity are the most priceless things you can hold on to. And that one moment of a bad partnership, a bad collaboration, a bad decision can ruin all the work that you really put into your good reputation. And so even going through Cuba and then coming out and being unemployed and not having any jobs, still holding it and saying, yo, I don't have no money right now, you know, but I'm still not willing to partner and do things that I know will just not align with my values and my principles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to understand what my value is, and I have to understand what my brand is. And some people have a very hard time telling people no. Some people want to people please and be everything to everyone. I guarantee you, if you try to be everything to everyone, you will dilute your brand, confuse everybody, and no one will know where you stand.
Yes.
The people who really want to invest with you will be like, no, but you're a flake. You're a flip-flopper. Today you're speaking about being a vegan, but tomorrow you're yamming pork. How does that work? So
I'm eating a piece of pork today. Can you just step on my toe?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. But for me, it is, I have my pillars, and I think small business brands and personal brands, they need to realize that they are big brands. They're big like Microsoft. You're big like Apple. Listen, you're big like Coca. You're big like everybody. But you have to treat your brand as such. And just as how those brands have guidelines and they know exactly what to do, how to message, the colors, where you put them logo, where they put, and what pillars are a part of their brand, we have to do that for ourselves. So I have my own brand guidelines. I have my own pillars because I take my brand seriously. So if a brand comes to me and I've assessed that this is not family friendly, it's not corporate friendly, this is not the audience that I serve, I don't have a problem saying thank you for the kind consideration, but I don't think I am the right brand fit for you. However, I think this brand is more in keeping with your target audience, your vibe. I have done that many, many times, and I've never lived to regret it. Wow. Keep your standards. Keep your standards.
And, you know, what I do like is that, again, these are nuggets of wisdom. These are tips that you use whether you are the brand, you are the product, or you are marketing a product that you've created.
Correct. And you should be like this on and offline, because that's another thing. Some people feel like you can, posture a particular way online because that looks good. But just understand that when it comes to personal branding, it is all the cues that you're leaving, the non-verbal, the verbal, the interactions online and offline, and what people see and what people hear about you, how you have left them feeling. All of them are the sum of what people believe your personal brand to be. So be careful just how you are offline. It should translate online, and how you are online should translate offline.
Yes. So Terry, this concept of the influencer, I would like your views on the influencer.
You see me cross my eyes. I wrote a blog about this on my website, terri-karelle.com, and to date, it's still the most read article I've ever written. Okay, so I think that there's an absolute place for influencers and influencer marketing in the world if it is done properly. Influencers are not frivolous. They have spent a lot of time and energy and effort, and sometimes their own money, building trust and credibility and integrity within their community, to the point that they can influence this community, whether the community is as small as 12 or as large as 12 million. And so when brands want to now tap into that brand equity, they should pay for that. They should put as much energy and effort into influencers as individual brands as they would for the full page ads in the newspapers, or the 30-second ads and the hour and the 1 minute ads on TV. They believe those are tangible, so they will put down budgets for that. But when it comes to influencers or persons, they want to give you a trinket or a token with the hopes of tapping into your community. And for me, I think that the respect has to go both ways. I think corporate needs to understand what influencers and what they do. And I think influencers also need to ensure that they don't water down their brand by aligning with brands that help to benefit their brand and their community. It has to align.
It has to align. Terry, we're going to need to post in the comments where persons can find that particular blog. Where do people find that blog? Because I think they need to read it.
It's on terri-karelle.com. I think I'm going to try to find that link and actually drop it in the chat. But what I do is I explain, what influencers need to do in order to be respected. And I think influencers on a whole need to understand that they need to treat it as a business. The more people enter the space, use the term influencer, and accept every and anything, it waters down the entire industry. And so what I do is I tell corporate Jamaica what they need to get right, and I tell influencers what they need to get right as well.
Can you give us a touch of that? Because I'm actually seeing a good question here from Rajesh. Can you just give us a little touch of some of what you have put in? Somebody post it there for you, Terry.
well, damn. Well, okay. Well, look at that. No, well, I think influencers need to again always know who they are. As much as you have built influence with your community will start to look at you side eye, and they will start to judge you if they think that you are just selling your soul out and selling your community out. Your community really enjoys when you back them, you protect them, and you don't give any brand any access just so. They feel as if you really care about who they are and that you're not going to sell them on something that you yourself would not use. And I think influencers need to stand by that. And on the corporate side, a lot of our corporate entities, marketing managers, brand managers, even agencies also go based on vanity metrics and popularity. But if there is a client that you have that has a specific niche, it is best for you to get with a micro influencer that has the kind of audience that will convert automatically for that client, not necessarily the person who is just popular, but may not have the right audience. So I think that even corporate need to start asking persons who they want to do business with, what are your stats? What's your engagement? Men to women, your cities, What countries are you showing up with? Show me the data. We still go a lot on guts, and we need to use the data to make informed decisions.
Wow, Terry. I see Rajesh says, is it too late to build my brand online and become an influencer? Is the market saturated?
Rajesh, let me tell you something. It is never too late to do anything. The question I have for you, though, is your objective to be an influencer? Like, my objective is not to be an influencer. I never went out to be an influencer. In fact, I don't even consider myself an influencer. I consider myself, and the name I give myself is a community builder. I believe in servant leadership. I serve my community in a way, and when you serve people with value, exceptionally well, consistently, the influence comes automatically. So the question you ask yourself is, do you just want to be an influencer, or do you want to serve a community in such a way that it naturally lends itself to you being influential? And that, of course, will bring the opportunities. The market is never saturated, but my darling, it is wise for you to know what market are you entering? Why are you entering that market? What is driving that decision? What action do you want to bring about? What change do you want to bring about? How do you want to impact your community's lives? When you start to answer those questions, it starts to open up where you realize, this is my sweet spot. This is who I want to serve. And this is where my influence will come if I serve the people properly.
Wow, Terry. That, my dear, was where you say the mic has dropped. Drop Ed. Terry, wow. You know,
I hope it helped. It's a lot. It's a big topic.
Yes, and it just reminds us, because even as we were planning this topic, that we may have to do a part 2 of it, because there is just so much to discuss. Thank you very much for the work you've already done, the insight that you have provided, and how you have businessized this online world. Because sometimes we're not seeing the business of the business. You've been able to link your individual brand with corporate brands, with small business brands. And I know that our audience, I see the comments are blowing up. And Derisha says, my daughter dreams about being an influencer, and she wants her main audience to be children so she can lead and help them be better. But is she too young? Let me tell you, you need to be following Terry. Terry, where can people find you? Because can you answer that question quickly?
Sure, no problem. The market is never saturated. Going back to that question, there are over 7 billion people, and there's no one who looks like you, acts like you, has been through the same thing, has the same knowledge or the experience or the exposure, and will approach the same job just like you. The market is never saturated. You just have to figure out how to differentiate. Don't worry about the competition. Focus on your differentiation. Number 2, you are never too young. There are youngsters, babies even, who are making billions of dollars by reviewing toys or being fashionistas or eating food and reviewing restaurants. What we need to understand is that how we used to approach business, where we had to go through a tenure and you have to go internship, and then you have an entry level, and then you have to work your way up in order to become a CEO, in order to make money. Them days are done. Those things can happen. But what I am saying is, with intention, if your daughter wants to be an influencer, the first thing she starts doing is posting what she wants to do. What's the change? What's the message? They will come. But she now has to make sure she positions herself that when the opportunities and the people and the business comes, you have given much thought to what you're going to align with and how you're going to roll it out. Not too young. Greta Thunberg is not too young to lead the climate change revolution.
Oh, thank you. I see Minna Israel says, dearest Terry, heartiest congrats. Awesome sharing of gems. Watching you from there has made me truly proud. Soho says, have always respected Terry's professionalism, great role model. And please, I beg you know that don't keep this information that Terry has shared tonight to yourself. Please be calling somebody, sharing this link. The rebroadcast of this episode will also be on our YouTube page, Facebook page, and smallbusinessportal.com. We cannot thank Terri-Karelle enough.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, PSOJ. I really appreciate it. And all the best to the small business owners. I know it's hard, but just keep going. Just keep going.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very
Take care,
much.
Bye-bye. Take care.